Mike Shoesmith on. We're at the bottom of the first hour. And Mike, it's good to have you with us today. Listen, I understand. I heard another talk radio host earlier today with a big name talking about this, and now we've got one of our PNN contributors, a major contributor, a regular contributor, actually, she's got her own website that's quite known around the world, but she always allows us to repost that she has been reporting and making some connections on this Trump investigation that are quite astounding. How about you unpacking that for us?
Yeah, she has read the Mueller report and is reporting thoroughly on it today on her website. But on Wednesday, Carl, she broke a story that's going to shock the audience. In fact, I know that she speaks with Mike Zullo frequently, so he may be able to further elaborate or confirm some of this stuff. But she writes on her
just
website.
a minute before you talk about what she writes. Her name's Sharon Rondo, and her website is
Sharon Rondo.
Yeah, postanemail.com. Okay, go ahead.
No, it's thepostemail.com.
Okay.
Thepostemail.com. But you can read her stuff at ppsimmons.com also. She is a valuable contributor to our website there also.
Yes.
So, and she sends me all of her stuff, and she says, Mike, if you can use this, please use it. Your audience is helping me reach a larger constituency. So she's grateful for being on board with PP Simmons, and she's a valuable contributor. And on Wednesday, she broke this story, breaking John Solomon. Plot to frame Trump began in the White House in January 2016. Now, put your thinking caps on now, because who was still in the office January 2016? It wasn't Donald Trump, right? I mean, how many fake narratives were put forth by the Obama regime here, Carl?
Right.
And this is by Sharon Rondo at thepostemail.com. During the first half hour of Wednesday night's Hannity investigative journalist John Solomon broke news when he said without equivocation that the Trump-Russia collusion investigation originated in a meeting in the White House in early January 2016, fully 1 year before an email was exchanged among top Obama officials indicating that information about the FBI's counterintelligence investigation into the Trump campaign would be withheld from the president-elect Donald Trump, in conjunction with recent statements made by former House Intelligence Committee Chairman and current ranking member Devin Nunes. Solomon claimed that the FBI's investigation into the Trump campaign began considerably earlier than the launch date identified by the agency, July 31st of 2016, right? That's when they claim it started. According to Solomon, no. It started when Obama was still in the White House.
Right.
If the information is accurate, the FBI's probe of approximately 16 months later folded into special counsel Robert Mueller's 22-month investigation, which ultimately found no collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia and insufficient evidence of obstruction of justice, and also, by the way, cost taxpayers $35 million, appears to have been purely politically motivated, Carl. Last July, top FBI officials released this gets even more shocking, by the way. Last July, top FBI officials released documentations of a surveillance warrant application and 3 successive renewals on Carter Page, an informal Trump campaign advisor, on the allegation that he was serving as an agent of the Russian government during the 2016 presidential election cycle. Another former Trump campaign aide, George Papadopoulos, who this guy plays heavily in this whole drama here, by the way, claims that he too was the subject of a FISA warrant in 2016 after his business dealings in overseas energy production and supply were allegedly monitored by the U.S. intelligence community. Now, William Barr, by the way, as an aside here, William Barr has now promised that he will investigate the Obama team there and find out what the heck they were doing, spying on people, including a potential future president of the United States. He has vowed that he will launch an investigation into that, by the way. In a column published Wednesday, Solomon asked 10 questions, which he said require answers as to the circumstances of the launch of the counterintelligence probe into a presidential campaign, and which he believes could turn the tables on Russia collusion investigators themselves. Wow. Hannity has said that the Trump-Russia collusion claims produced a rigged investigation and constitute the largest political hoax in American history. However, as the Post email has reported over the last 9+ years, And the P.P. Simmons and Carl Gallups have also been reporting over 9+ years. In April of 2011, the Obama White House uploaded an image said to represent Obama's long-form birth certificate from Hawaii, which has been determined beyond the standard of probable cause and after a 5+ year criminal investigation to be a computer-generated forgery. How about that? The birth certificate image's alleged authenticity was reinforced by a complicit media. Boy, doesn't that sound familiar?
Yeah.
Which could have emanated from collusion with the Obama regime and a desire to deceive the American public.
Yeah.
The FBI and DOJ were irrefutably made aware of the findings of fraud and forgery, but refused to investigate, as has Congress to date. And while Hannity and many of his guests have drilled down over more than 2 years to obtain and report the true origins of the Russia collusion investigation, the popular radio host and television host, in addition to all others in the mainstream media, Carl, as you know, has declined to report the evidence compiled by former New Jersey detective Mike Zullo under the authority of former Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio on the birth certificate forgery. Also found fraudulent by Zullo's team is Obama's purported selective service registration form, which the agency's then director, Lawrence Romo, declined to investigate and refused to produce to Arpaio for inspection in 2012. Now, here comes the connection here. Obama's CIA director, John Brennan, is now said to have been a point person in circulating the unverified dossier of allegations about Trump's relationship with Russia, parts of which were leaked to the media prior to the election of its author, Christopher Steele. Officials at the DOJ and State Department were also involved in funneling the information to the FBI, Hannity, Solomon, and investigative journalist Sarah A. Carter have reported. And she concludes with this. After concluding the birth certificate investigation, Zullo said publicly that in his view, all roads are going to lead to John Brennan. And now as a virulent anti-Trump commentator on MSNBC, Brennan proved himself incorrect after predicting 2 weeks before the completion of Mueller's probe of the Trump campaign that Mueller would issue more indictments. Wrong. In a number of radio interviews over more than 5 years, Zullo has contended that Obama's public life narrative is false and that evidence gleaned from the investigation shows that Obama was not present in the state of Hawaii, where he claims he was born before the age of 5. You can't be born. Nobody's born at the age of 5. We now have substantial evidence to show that he wasn't in Hawaii before the age of 5. So clearly, we don't know where he was born. Moreover, Zullo has reported that 2 U.S. intelligence agents informed him confidentially that, quote, it's been an open secret, unquote, in the nation's capital that Obama was not born in the United States, which in their view rendered him constitutionally ineligible to serve. Final comment from Sharon. It was Donald Trump who in 2011 challenged the Obama White House to release Obama's long-form birth certificate to prove that he was born in the United States and was presumably a natural-born citizen, as Article 2, Section 1, Clause 5 of the U.S. Constitution requires for the president and commander-in-chief. And it just seems to me, Carl, that Obama and his team are still engaged in bogging down the president in pettifoggery, so he won't have the time to further the evidence that Joe Arpaio says he has a warehouse full of it.
Yeah,
and it's open to the investigator. If they want to get in there, he's got the key. He'll just hand it over to whoever wants to take this investigation forward.
Yep, no doubt. Let me break in and just agree with Sharon's assessment and your reporting of it, and remind our listeners, and Mike, you and I can talk about this. So she speaks of the media Obama collusion that now we know about. I want to remind our listeners that Mike Zullo reported on that in an official capacity before anyone else ever in the world reported on that in an official capacity. Mike Zullo was involved in a bona fide criminal forensic investigation of the possibility of the Obama fraud concerning his presentation of fake documentation to occupy the seat of commander-in-chief and president of the United States. Neither Mike Zullo nor Sheriff Arpaio have ever publicly speculated on exactly where Obama was born, only in was that documentation he presented the only documentation that the world has ever seen. Was it genuine? and a 5-year criminal investigation backed up by 2 forensic examination companies on other parts of the world, other sides of the world, using 2 different methods, and in a double-blind situation. Neither one of them knew that the other document company was working on it. They both concluded, along with Arpaio and Zullo, that the document was a forgery built from the ground up. They have provided to that criminal investigation sworn affidavits that are now under lock and seal and key, as well as the warehouse of digital documented paper trail evidence. And a lot of that includes whistleblower information from CIA, FBI, whistleblower Dennis Montgomery, and so much more. But nobody, for 8 years of Obama, of course, would even touch it. And of course, we know why now. And ever since then, no one would touch it. But I'm going to defend this current administration, say, until now, until the Mueller report released, nobody really could touch it, Mike Shoesmith, because Comey was the director. I mean, look at the DOJ. Even with what's-his-face from Alabama in there, it was useless and filled with deep state operatives, and the FBI filled with deep state operatives, and Congress compromised, the courts compromised. And then the whole Mueller investigation, as you just said, was designed to water down Trump's power. And I'm convinced, and Sheriff Arpaio is convinced, and Mike Zullo is convinced, and I'm sure many of our listeners are, that the watering down process was mainly aimed at not allowing Trump to open up this birth certificate investigation before the DOJ or Congress, because that is the foundational crime committed against the United States, the largest, the biggest, the most horrendous crime committed, and we're sitting on top of a mountain of a 5-year criminal forensic investigation by the 4th largest sheriff's office in the nation, and so far nobody will report on the details of it. And so, Mike,
I want to encourage everybody to go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, so I just wanted to let people know. Mike Zullo reported on this years ago and said there is a huge collusion between the media and the Obama White House. And he said years ago that if you follow the trail, all of this dirt is going to wind up at the feet of, and Zullo said this, John Brennan and the CIA. And that's because of what he knew from the whistleblower and what he had seen with his own eyes and the documents that they literally possess, Mike Shoesmith. So I just want to give a shout out to Arpaio and Zullo, everything that's in the headline news now that they're breathlessly reporting, including Sean Hannity. Look what we found out. Mike Zullo and Sheriff Arpaio and I, as the mouthpiece, we knew about this years ago. We were saying it right here on WEBY and 99.1 FM. We were saying it right here.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
so
I want to encourage everybody go to the post. Sorry, Carl. Go to the postemail.com. Type it out just how it sounds. Look for the article. Is the Mueller report a smokescreen? Sharon goes over in detail. She's read the entire report, and she claims that the Mueller report is a smokescreen because even she starts off page 89 of the Mueller report contains statements in direct contradiction with those made on air by former House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes, now the committee's ranking member, and investigative reporter and executive vice president of Video for the Hill, John Solomon.
Yeah.
So, despite inconsistencies in emerging evidence, government claims accepted without question.
Yeah.
I mean, since when?
I know. We got to take a quick time out, and then we'll come back. We'll wrap this up and anything else you want. Folks, don't go anywhere. We've got more to share with you. Give us 2 minutes, and we'll be right back. Oval Office, Gulf Coast Talk Radio, Freedom Friday. All right. So, Mike Shoesmith, you and I were just talking offline. I think it's worthy of repeating some of it. So I was just, rehashing the fact that, good gosh, Mike, and we're going to have Mike Zullo up for the whole last hour. We'll be talking about all this and so much more. But again, I promise, folks, I'm not sitting here beating my chest. I'm beating the chest of Mike Zullo. I'm giving him a high five. And Sheriff Arpaio. I mean, I've just been the mouthpiece in this stuff. Somebody that had access to a real live radio microphone and would bring somebody like Zullo on for hours. And so, Mike Shoesmith, what you and I were talking about is that Mike Zullo, Sheriff Arpaio, the only law enforcement investigators in the world that did an official criminal investigation on this, 5 years, and all kinds of forensic examination, including whistleblower that was coming to him and providing them with more forensics. And we I say we, please, it's not me. I'm just saying it because it was on my radio show, but I'm going to use the word we, and everybody knows my heart when I use that word. But we broke it to the world years ago that the CIA was using software that was built and invented to breach into government websites, state websites, election websites, and manipulate elections and spy on judges and congressmen. And we reported that years ago. We reported that the media was in direct collusion with the White House in criminal ways. We reported that. And everybody called us nuts. We reported that the CIA was involved in this. Remember the URLs of the CIA tracing to the Department of Health in Hawaii right before the birth certificate was listed, to a server in Jakarta, Indonesia, back into Washington, D.C.? I mean, Zullo reported on that. He literally used John Brennan's name and says, all roads will lead to John Brennan. One day in the future, when people finally find out what we've been knowing for years, it'll all lead to John Brennan. Now, these guys are up there saying, oh my gosh, this goes back to John Brennan. Look what we have found out. No, Zullo found that out years ago. And it was reported years ago right here on Freedom Friday. Mike, go ahead.
Right. Well, it just seems like people like Hannity, and don't get me wrong, I like Sean Hannity. He is tough on the issues. I just think that maybe somebody has gotten to him and said, look, don't touch this birth certificate thing. We don't want anything to do with it. And, like on Wednesday night during that interview, Solomon appeared on Hannity and declared for the first time that Trump-Russia collusion investigation had its origins in the White House in early January 2016, before Trump even won the Republican nomination. Carl, former U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Joseph DiGenova, a contemporaneous guest on the program, said it all started in the White House. Barack Obama knew about this from day one. He authorized it.
Yeah.
And this is stuff coming out on Hannity. So Hannity, his brain is blowing up live on television saying, this is the greatest hoax in American history. So it's like he's swatting at flies, missing the great big elephant that's about to step on his head, standing right next to him.
Thank you.
Which is the birth certificate.
Yeah, that's the foundational crime to the whole thing. And it's what, again, Arpaio believes, Zullo believes, I believe, you believe. This is the purpose for the Mueller report. Listen, Sheriff Arpaio says that. He says the federal government coming after me for my enforcement of immigration laws and trying to put me in jail. He was going to jail. He was on his way to jail. And if Hillary Clinton had won the office, he would be sitting in jail right now. And Arpaio says it was never about immigration. It was about the fact that I dared to investigate his birth certificate, and I dared to uncover the truth, and I dared to report it. They hate my guts. And then Trump, who started the whole birth certificate thing in 2011, he wins the office, and Arpaio said they were desperate to get Trump out of there or to shut him down, thus the Mueller report.
It's so funny. I don't know if you follow George Papadopoulos on Twitter, but he is literally blowing up Twitter now following the release of the report. Last night, Papadopoulos tweeted, the president should sanction Australia for interfering in our election. Clinton errant boy Alexander Downer was spying on me, that's Papadopoulos, and recording our conversations. Congress has the transcripts. This meeting was about my ties to Israel, just like Halper wanted to meet about too, he writes on Twitter. So Papadopoulos is just fit to be tied over this. Go check out his Twitter feed. It is very good, very enlightening. And he is just off the chain with this whole thing, because like he's a major player in it, and he has been slandered throughout this whole ordeal. So yeah, check out his Twitter page if you want to get some good information on good insider information on this whole scandal. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you were listening to the first portion when Brandon was on there. We were talking about this video, Kellyanne Conway, and we've got that posted at freedomfriday.carlgallups at facebook.com, where the day of the release of the Mueller report, or excuse me, of Barr's, press conference about the Mueller report, she ended it. she telegraphed big time, something that Sean Hannity's basically been saying for weeks, and so has Trump. But she said, so you want transparency? We're getting ready to give it to you. In other words, justice is on its way.
Yeah. And she also said, if Trump ever asked me to do anything illegal, I would quit.
Yeah, there you go. I love it. But listen, we got to get out of here. We're up against the clock. Thank you so much, Mike. And thank you, folks, for listening. We're going to go to the top of the hour. Mike Zullo will be up with us in just a few seconds. Don't go anywhere.
Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon has died, aged 80.
We are with one of Rabbi Kaduri's disciples.
הצלחה רבה, והצלחה רבה ומהירה, בתוך ביאת משיח צדקנו בקרוב ממש, ואז ישפיע זה על כל כדור הארץ. נעשו להשם שמע, דין השם כדור